Okay. Well, hi, nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So, tell me a little bit about your character, Alonzo.
Um, about Alonzo. So Alonzo Powers is he's a young executive at a kind of a smaller athletics company that is looking to be a little more competitive in the bigs, like with the bigs. So Alonzo kind of comes up with a very uh guess not so okay idea on how to go about that.
Yeah, like I watched the whole series, and like my perspective of Alonzo is I think in the beginning he's kind of set up to kind of be a villain in the sense of the of he's kind of the representation of a black person who finally has a seat on the table, but this is like day two. Like, what is he going to do with kind of the amount of power that he has? Um, so how do you um kind of sit with his decisions? Like, would you make similar decisions as him? Do you agree with him? Like, how was it like with that struggle that he goes through as a person playing his character?
Personally, I wouldn't make his decision. I think my morals kind of stand a lot stronger than my own personal endeavors, which sometimes works, sometimes it hinders certain situations. But I think if you're always following your morals and the things that that you believe in, no matter how often they change, as long as you're following your moral compass, it'll lead you the right way. There's a lot of things that I've turned down that could have been extremely lucrative that just didn't sit right with me morally. So how do I feel about what he does? I don't necessarily like it, but I do understand coming from somewhere and feeling the pressure of having to having to succeed in a space that normally we don't.
Totally, I agree. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you have passed roles that could have been lucrative. I've noticed throughout your career is that you tend to pick roles that don't gloss over race or the struggles that can come with a person of color at all. Has that always been deliberate?
Not necessarily deliberate, but I think it's been a good omen, kind of. It's I don't know. At the roles that I usually like to choose aren't roles uh, that kind of make someone the token guy. Even when I did 90210, one of the main things that I pushed for was I don't want to be considered the token. I don't want to be able to just do the token-esque things. I really want to be able to speak about where he's from, the things that he's been through, the things that young black men go through, especially being in a place that you feel out of sorts. So I just try to make sure that we get real actual slices of life in in any role that I do versus it being a specific agenda.
Yeah. And what made you interested in this role?
Oh man. So first and foremost, Reggie is my mentor. So anything Reggie brings to me, it's kind of hard to say no. Yeah, we have this constant joke. I'm like, listen, I'm your contract killer. You call me in when you need something to get laid down. It's that simple. Um, but with Reggie on board and him telling me about what it is and what he was actually trying to do from jump before even the pandemic happened and the rewrite and everything, just the idea of what we wanted to speak about, talking to KD, talking about his story, what he's been through, and how he wanted to show the world the pressures that are put on these kids at such a young age. And then even, Apple TV Plus being behind it, CBS being behind it, Brian Grazer and his company being behind it, Ron Howard, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no.
Yeah, it's definitely, you guys are one of the first quote unquote shows on Apple TV that has a majority Black cast. So it was
Mhm.
definitely exciting to see that, and that it didn't stray away with the issues that we're currently going through right now, especially how the kids deal with it. And you were mentioning it was a rewrite. Do you feel um like, how was it like? I talked to Isaiah earlier today, and this show has kind of been in the making for about 3 years. You guys had a
Yep.
different lead. There was COVID, kind of the predominant Black Lives Matter. Like, how did that affect you as an actor and how you approach the show and character?
I think as everything was happening in the world and in my life as well, I was at the same time, right? I happened to I got married. At the same time, I had a baby, so I think even as the world is changing around me, my perspective on the world changed immediately. I was way more protective. I was way more just it once the rewrite came around, and even before that, but once the rewrite came around and we spoke about what we were going to do, there was this quote that constantly stayed in my head. If you're an artist, what kind of artist are you if you can't portray the times?
Mhm.
And as an artist, I felt it behooved me to make sure that I speak about what's going on from any perspective that I possibly can, no matter what side of the 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 movement that said person is on. You have to be able to tell both stories. So yeah, man, I was excited.
Awesome. So, something that is brought up a lot in the show is that these kids are a bit of a commodity, and that all these people are making money off them, whether it's the coaches, sneaker company, other endorsements.
Mhm.
Um, how do you kind of feel like that? Because that's actually a real issue that not just these 14-year-old freshman boys are going through, but even adults, young adult males and females playing sports within college. How do you feel about them kind of not making any money or being able to take advantage of the job they're doing?
Up until the NIL rules that just changed, maybe like what, a few months ago, not even a full year yet. It was very much that. It was very much the whole mindset, and the whole mindset of these companies, these systems making millions and millions upon millions of dollars from these kids, from their likenesses, from the things that from their abilities. And these kids don't get a dime. These kids get a chance to go to school, which nowadays you can probably get the same education from YouTube or whatever. Uh, it's the exchange didn't weigh the same. Uh, so I think, to me, it bothered me a lot. I think anybody, depending, no matter what your talent is, no matter where you are, like your genius level talent may land, you deserve to be awarded and compensated for your abilities. No matter how old you are, no, none of that. You deserve to be paid for what you do.
Yeah. And these young boys are feeling a lot of pressure from their parents, from their coaches, from a lot of outside parties, which I thought is probably pretty similar to starting off acting as a child.
Mhm.
How were you able to deal with that pressure then?
I just had a really good family base, man. I can really thank God for my mom, for my dad, my siblings, shoot, my neighborhood, man. Just growing up the way that I did, I'm glad that I wasn't like, I was a child star for sure, but it wasn't like I wasn't so young that I didn't have a sense of community. Like I didn't have my neighborhood that I always went back to. Every time I finished a show, whether it was Miracles Boys, whether it was The Wire, first early ages of 90210, whenever I come home, I would go straight back to the projects where I was from. And those kids grew up with me my entire life. So it's one, it's not it was never he's acting funny, he's got money. I was blessed to build real friendships with everyone. That when I came home, it was like, yo, don't act like you don't still live in the projects with us, bro. Like, you got roaches in your crib, like I got roaches in my crib. We were all, they kept me grounded. It kept me in a place where I understood that what I was doing was just a job, and I didn't get the spotlight of blinded by the light of what celebrity can be.
Yeah, and Coach Isaac talks a lot about the show, about muffling the noise and focusing on your game. How do you go about that now as an adult? And you're saying you have new responsibilities now. You're a husband, you're a father. Like, how are you able to stay present at the task at hand?
I think it depends on this. I think it depends on the task. For me, it's no matter what the task is, it's a focus, right? You need to make sure that you are present, that you stay alert, that you are open to however things may change, because things are always going to change. You can't, there's nothing you can do about that. You got to be ready and willing to roll with the punches, and you got to be prepared. You have to be prepared. Whatever that job is, whatever that situation may be, whether it is watching your daughter or walking on a Broadway stage, you have to be prepared, and you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yes, that's my go-to saying. I
Mhm.
noticed, and I don't know if I was the only person that noticed this, or as you as an actor noticed, that I feel like Meg and Alonzo kind of have some chemistry. Did you pick up on that too, or is that just me?
I think we all picked up on it, but I think it's that it's the competitiveness that you see but also between like Crystal and Jace. There's always that. It's only in the business sense, and they're not kids, that go to the same school or anything, so they can't hold hands. They can't, share a kiss away from everybody. But it's that friendly competitiveness that looks each other up and down, like, okay, all right,
Yeah.
I see you and you see me. It's yeah.
Yeah. As we see throughout the season, Alonzo kind of comes to terms that maybe he should be taking a different approach. And at first he does it a bit quietly, and then he's a bit more vocal about that. In a potential season 2, would you
Emphasis on vocal.
literally vocal and visual? Have you ever had that kind of instance in your own career, that feeling that you needed to take a stand, whether it be in acting or music or any of your other business moves?
Mm, I think God always challenges you in different ways, right? So I think there's always a time where God tests to see how much you want something, or tests to see where you are mentally with it. So in every single endeavor that I've ever tried to come across, there had to be a time where I either had to stand up for what I wanted, or I had to create my own opportunities, or I had to not pay attention to certain people, or et cetera, et cetera. The list can go on and on and on. But yes, I think there's always a time that we are faced with an obstacle that goes against kind of what we feel is right. No matter how many people are telling you what you feel is wrong, it goes against what you feel is right. And either you can swallow that sword, or you push against it. And a lot of times, that pushing against it, you realize there's something glorious on that other side.
Awesome. And what would you hope to see in season 2 come more from Alonzo and for Swagger DMV?
Man, I can't wait to see the growth of the children. I can't wait to see the growth of Alonzo, where he winds up, how he winds up, and you know that his own swagger, wherever the world may take him.
Yeah. And have you always been a basketball fan, or did you become more one after taking on this role?
Oh man, I've always been a basketball fan. You can't grow up in New York City and not be a basketball fan. It's like you go outside, there's basketball courts everywhere. So you have to be a basketball fan. Now, I may not have been the best basketball player, nor am I right now, but I can definitely tell you that I have always been a basketball fan.
It was funny watching the show because even with O'Shea and with you, I was just like, oh, I wonder how tall they are because they seem shorter to the boys. And then I'm like, oh, they're over 6 feet as well. Like these children are
Yeah,
so tall.
the boys are giants.
Yeah.
Please, the boys are giants. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
But yeah, I think even for a person who isn't into sports, I feel like a sign of a good show is that it can make you super invested into something
Mhm.
that you aren't in every day. Cause I'm not a huge sports fan at all, but like each game they were playing, I'm like, you gotta get them. I'm like, I hope you don't get hurt. Not your ACL. I was just so emotionally invested that I'm like, okay, this is a sign of a good show, and I definitely hope there's more to come. But what's in the pipeline for you? I know you're on Broadway right now, which is amazing, and uh
Yeah,
definitely
man.
something.
We have Broadway right now, Thoughts of a Colored Man, which is out right now until about March. We have a limited engagement, but maybe it get extended. We'll see. But right now it's until March, and then we have some music that will be coming really soon, and a short film that I wrote, produced, and directed. It's just got accepted into ABFF, New Voices, and yeah, man, we're working, we're staying busy, doing our thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and I think giving me a peek of your daughter's room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, and I hope to talk to you soon. Best of luck and have a good show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Thank
Peace.
you. Bye.